You're standing in line at a coffee shop on a Tuesday morning. The woman in front of you, maybe 60 years old, holding a wallet in one hand, puts her other hand flat on the counter. Then her knee buckles. She goes down sideways and her head hits the tile floor with a sound you will not forget. The barista freezes mid pour. The man behind you takes one step back. 11 other people in this shop just became part of this scene, and right now, in this exact second, no one is moving. Not you either. Why? I'm Dr. Marco Torres, and this is Talking TACMED, Episode 2. The question I want to answer in the next 9 minutes is the single most undertaught topic in civilian emergency response. It's not a skill, it's not a piece of gear. It's the reason the skill and the gear do not matter if you cannot get past that first barrier. The barrier is called a bystander freeze. And every civilian who's ever been at the scene of a sudden medical emergency has felt it. Most people just walk away from those moments with a quiet, private shame because they think the freeze means something about their character. It does not. The freeze is a specific neurological event. It happens in a specific window of time. It has a specific physiological signature. And there's the part nobody teaches you. It has a very specific override that you can rehearse in your living room in about 90 seconds. This episode is for the parent, the teacher, the office manager, the person who has been to a first aid class and still wonders whether they would actually do anything if it happened in front of them. The honest answer, without training, is probably not. The honest answer, with the override I am about to teach you, is yes. So let me walk you through what's happening inside your nervous system in the first 3 seconds after you witness something your brain did not expect. The orienting reflex. When your brain detects something novel, a loud sound, an unexpected movement, a person going down, the first thing that happens before you're even consciously aware of it is that your motor output halts. Your body stops moving, while the prefrontal cortex decides what category of event this is. That pause lasts somewhere between 2 and 6 seconds. It's involuntary. Every human being has it. Then you have the sympathetic dump. Simultaneously, your sympathetic nervous system floods your body with adrenaline and noradrenaline. Heart rate spikes. Peripheral vasoconstriction pulls blood out of your hands and into your core. Pupils dilate. Auditory exclusion kicks in, which is why people at accident scenes often report that everything went quiet. Your body is preparing for fight or flight. Now, this is pretty useful if the threat is a predator. It's catastrophic if the task you need to perform is fine motor skills under a time constraint. Then you have cognitive tunneling. Attention narrows to one input. Research on police officers in critical incidents shows that vision can narrow to a cone as tight as 10 degrees. You can miss an unconscious child on the floor 2 feet from the person you're looking at because you're tunneled onto one face. Now, do the math. The unaddressed freeze eats 30 to 90 seconds of your useful window. In a cardiac arrest, that is the difference between rapid intervention and permanent neurological damage. In massive hemorrhage, that is half of your patient's blood volume on the floor. Now, the freeze is not a character problem. It's a physiology problem, which means that it has a physiology solution. So here's how people whose jobs require them to function during the freeze actually handle it. The military, law enforcement, fire rescue, tactical EMS. All of these communities have converged on the same solution over about 30 years of research. It's not courage training, it's not aggression drills. It is a specific tool called a rehearsed first action. The NAS EMSO model guidelines for EMS response reference this under the scene size up doctrine. The idea is that the first physical action at a scene, it's not medical, it's orienting. You arrive, you scan, you announce, you approach. The scan and the announce happen before the medical assessment starts every single time without exception. That sequence is what breaks the freeze because the motor component of speech, actually saying words out loud, short circuits the prefrontal cortex hesitation loop. The civilian version of this is 3 words. 3 words you rehearse out loud in your living room until they are the default output when your brain encounters novelty. The words are I am going. Said out loud, not thought, said, because the act of speaking them recruits the same motor pathways that were frozen by the orienting reflex, and it unfreezes them. Then and only then the scanning protocol begins, and this is where the COTC recommended scene size up maps almost perfectly onto the civilian context. The military version is threats first, casualties second, resources third. The civilian version is identical minus the weapons in most cases, right? You think, is the scene safe? Who is hurt? What do I have? 3 words to break the freeze, 3 questions to orient. That's the override. All right, now we didn't forget the woman on the floor of the coffee shop, so let's go back there. You've got 11 bystanders and you. What the trained civilian does in the first 10 seconds looks something like this. Second one, you say out loud, I am going. Not to anyone in particular, but to yourself. It feels stupid the first time you rehearse it, but it will not feel stupid when it works. Seconds 2 through 4, you scan. Is there an ongoing hazard? Did she slip on a spilled drink that will send you to the floor too? Is there an attacker you missed? Is there anything actively making the scene worse? If the answer is no, you move. Seconds 5 through 7, you point at a specific person, not at the crowd. You point at one person and say in a command voice, you in the red shirt, call 911. Tell them a woman is down at the coffee shop on the corner of Main and 5th and stay on the phone. This is the single most important sentence you will say. It is specific. It names the person. It names the action. It names the location. It is the sentence that breaks the bystander effect for every other person in the shop, because now they have permission to help. Seconds 8 through 10, you arrive at the patient. You look. Is she breathing? Is there blood you did not see from across the room? You start the March assessment we talked about in episode 1. And now, because you already have broken the freeze, the assessment is clean. Your hands work. Your eyes scan. Your voice is steady. This is what the first 10 seconds of a trained civilian response look like. It's not heroic. It is a sequence. A sequence you can rehearse in your kitchen tomorrow morning. Oh, and one more thing. The command voice is not aggression. This is where most people get it wrong. The command voice is clarity. It is calm, it is specific, and it's loud enough to be heard by the person you name. That's it. Yelling creates panic. Specificity creates action. So, 3 takeaways from this episode. 1, the freeze is physiology, not character. Your nervous system is doing exactly what it was built to do. The problem is that it was built for a predator, right? When back in the day when saber-toothed tigers were chasing after you. It wasn't built for you to handle a stroke victim at a coffee shop. Number 2, the override is a verbalized first action. 3 words said out loud. I am going. Rehearsed until it is the default output when novelty hits. 3, the command voice is permission, not aggression. When you point at one specific person and give them one specific task, you give every other bystander in that room permission to help. That is the single most powerful tool a civilian has at a medical scene, and it costs nothing. Now, if you want to train this the right way, I'm building a scene psychology and command presence module into one of our upcoming civilian first aid courses. It's going to walk through the full freeze override, the command voice drills, and it's going to have multiple scenario simulations. You can run solo or with a partner. It'll take about 45 minutes, and it's the single most useful piece of civilian training I have ever built, and it is one that most first aid programs leave out entirely. On the next episode, we're going to get into the first piece of gear that actually matters, tourniquets, and 3 specific mistakes that make them useless, even when applied by people who think they know what they're doing. I'm Doc Marco, and this has been Talking TACMED. We'll catch you next time.